Hi everyone. Hey, this week we're ready to begin looking at the literature from 1865 to 1890. And in some ways it may be where we should have begun the course, but we needed that contrast with the late Romantics to really get a feel for American realism. On the screen before you are some goals for this particular unit, and these are straight out of our textbook, but I wanted to look at this a moment to emphasize what I hope we come away with over over the next few weeks. Sorry about that. Well, we do need to understand what is meant by realism. That's kind of a given, I guess, but our textbook lays out two preceding movements, local color and regionalism. And actually, it does matter to see the stylistic differences between the writers that get classified in local color, regionalism, and realism. Though I do want you to know that some writers wind up being classified in all three categories, and part of that has to do with the range in style of various of their pieces. So that's point number one. We want to come away understanding local color, regionalism, and realism, and what makes those different if they are. If you'll take just a little bit of time this week to read the pages preceding the literary selections, I think that authors do a pretty good job giving you some historical context of what was going on during this time period. A couple things they emphasize that are worth our dwelling on right here at the very beginning, the pickup themes as we go along. So increasing industrialization in the United States, and with that industrialization came such things as the development of the first transcontinental railroad and the telegraph, which changed the nature of how the various states began to define themselves. I'll come back to that in just a little bit. Another key influence to look at is immigration from both Europe and Asia in the last half of the 1800s. Labor, the immigrants changed the nature of labor, and whereas that influenced the Northeast, eventually the Midwest and even the West Coast felt the impact of the increased immigration and change in labor dynamics. The rise in the middle class most definitely made a big difference, and this shift in wealth laid the groundwork for some advocacy of social change. In the late 1800s, there became increased emphasis on women's right to vote, to own property, to earn their own living, as well as African Americans rising to higher positions in social status, as they also were calling for equality, right to vote, and right to own property. Okay, well, that's short and sweet, and that's a little precursor to a few more lectures I'd like to post as we go along this week. Have a great week, and I'll talk with you again.